How does the owner of a coffee roaster get out from underneath the heavy weight of feeling like they have to do everything themselves? Really, what we're talking about here is how do we give our people freedom to do their job and empower them to do it? Meaning, we're saying, go do this thing. I'm not going to hold your hand, but you have the freedom to do it. That's great. But on the challenge support matrix, right? If you're familiar with that, if it's all challenge and no support, it's brutal. If it's all support and no challenge, we're coddling. So what we want here is we need to give them freedom, but we also need to empower them. What I mean by this is saying, go do your job. I'm not going to look over your shoulder. And here's what you need to do your job. And I'm going to give you both of those things. So it's a different way of talking about the challenge support matrix. I'll give you a quick little story. When I was a Bible student, I don't go to church anymore, not really interested in it. But I did go to Bible college. When I went there, we studied the Bible. One of the phrases that was really important to us as Bible students was usage in context, meaning how was this word or phrase or idea used in the context of the people of that time in that place? If you were able to glean that understanding of how this phrase, idea, word, sentence was used in that context, in that time frame for those people, we started to build an understanding of, okay, this is probably what the writer of that passage was intending to say. What does this have to do with empowerment and freedom? The same concept of usage in context is important to consider when we bump up against our team doing something in a way that we would not have wanted to do it. If we didn't give our team mate or individual or team itself the freedom to do this job, I would have to do it myself. We now have a decision to make. They're going to do things probably not the same as I would do them. In fact, maybe they're not even going to be as good at first. But is them doing it 80% as good as you, the owner, is you not having to do it and them doing it 80% as good as you, is that worth it for you to say, I actually don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to place orders. I don't have to do inventory. Is them doing it 80% as good as you could do it worth you not having to do it? The answer, in my opinion, is yes, because you can coach that last 20%. But if you are the person doing all of the work, you can't coach the 80%. If you've taken that 80% on and saying, this is on my shoulders, I'm carrying this, they can never take that from you. So you have to give them the freedom to take that 80%. You can coach the remaining 20%. And this is where the empowerment comes in, because if you have said, here's how to do this, here's how I do this, here's how I'd like this done, and if they do 80% as good, now they have the freedom to go do this, and they have the information of how you want it done, and then that last 20% is where we can coach. But what happens when they mess up? Let's throw people into the deep end and see if they can swim. Obviously, we need to support them and make sure that they don't drown, and that's not the point. The point is there's oftentimes people in your team that are coming up that are ready for significantly more than what they currently have. So sometimes it's okay to say, jump in. Now, I can swim, and if you start to drown, I can jump in and save you. But what we don't want to do is we don't want them to know that in some ways, because then you're the phone call when the mistake happens. That's not what we want. The empowerment comes in, this is the 20%. The empowerment comes in when they start to make decisions on their own, and maybe they're not the decisions that you would make, which creates some fires, and that's okay. Fires happen with or without you being there and doing the work, which means if you can hand off some of that work, that 80%, you can give them the freedom to do that, then they start doing the thing that you used to do that they're doing 80% as good as you, and then they make some decisions and they start a fire, figurative fire, of course. suppose in a coffee roaster, it could be a literal fire, hopefully a figurative fire that you have to now sort out, because at some point they do need to call you when the fire started. What do you do now? Well, remember, we're in the 20%. Now, if they're completely failing at the job, that's probably on you, because you probably didn't give them the tools to be able to do that job well, or the training. But if it's in that 20% where they made a discretionary decision and they started a fire, now it's on you to say, okay, you do need to call me. Past this point, this is when you call me. And this is where you get to coach. Okay, tell me why you made that decision. Because I'm not going to assign judgment to this, but I think we both kind of understand how this decision that you made turned out. Just walk me through your decision making. Let's think through this. X happened, Y happened, and you chose to do this other thing. Why? What happened there? And give them the opportunity to work that out with you. Say, well, here's what I thought. I thought if I did this, then this would happen, but then this other thing happened, so then I made this other decision, and then all of that ended up where we are now. Totally fine. Here's what I would say next time. Think of it in this way. And that's where you get to coach them on that last 20% to say, when you come up against this challenge, don't immediately do this. Do this other thing. I'll give you an example. It was about 2 years ago. One of my teammates sent me a text. And I have a rule on my team where we only communicate over for business things, not disagreements. I know we just talked about that in the previous video, but we only communicate about work on digital communication. We usually use Slack or WhatsApp or some type of thing that's like, I don't automatically open up my phone and look at this. It's not a text. It's on some other communication platform, so that when I'm off, I don't have to look at work. And when you're off, work doesn't come into your text thread either. So that's a rule that I have. 3 exceptions. 1, if they have something funny that they want to share with me, text me about it. If there's something going on like, hey, we're all meeting up for beers over here, text me about it. Or if something's on fire. So I get a text from one of my teammates, hey, I'm really, really sorry. I think I solved it, but I have to tell you about something I wanted you to hear about from me. Do you have a sec? Totally. Pick up the phone and call her. I'm super sorry. I didn't mean to do this. It was totally a mistake. I understand how unprofessional it is. And in my mind, I'm like, what did she possibly do? It's like, do I have to fire her? Like, what did she do? And my head was just going to all sorts of crazy places. And I was like, oh my God, what is she about to say? And she kept just dancing around it. And then finally I said, listen, it's all good. I'm sure it's all good. Whatever happened, we can figure it out. Just what happened? She goes, well, client emailed me and they asked a quick question, and I responded on my phone, and I didn't realize that I was on my personal account, and I emailed them from my personal account. I solved the problem, but it was from my personal, and I'm really sorry. I know it wasn't. And I was like, whoa, stop. You're totally good. This is not a problem. This is like I've done that. And yeah, it's not professional, but this is one time out of thousands of emails that you've sent out. Like, this is not a big deal. This is not a big deal. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for bringing it up. This is not a fire. And also, you did the right thing. You solved the problem, and I didn't even have to hear about it until now. And this isn't a problem. So we're good. Good job. Keep doing it. And yes, next time email on your work email, but more so because I want to make sure your personal email thread isn't cluttered with work. As we think through this, as we think through empowering your team and giving them the freedom to do their job, but then also the freedom to make mistakes. When they do make mistakes, just talk it through with them. Help them think through, okay, so that makes sense. You tried to solve this problem doing this, and you chose this other thing, and we both can understand that didn't work well. So what can we do in the future? And so you start to workshop this with the person that created the fire, and you're still empowering them and saying, I'm not taking this from you. You're going to do this. this is still your job. And we're just coaching the last 20%. Now, if they're failing at the 80%, if they're not actually able to do it, that's a different situation. What we're talking about here is when those fires start, helping them develop the skill of putting a fire out. That gets really exciting really, really quickly. And it's a beautiful thing when you can say, oh, I don't understand why you did that. But given the context of how your brain works, your background, how you've solved other problems, what you did in this situation makes sense. Your usage in the context of the situation makes sense. Here's what I would do next time so that you can get a better outcome and maybe not start a fire. So I hope that's helpful. And if you learned something, let me know about it. Shoot me an email at luke@pomelocoffeeconsulting.com. I'd love to hear what you learned, how this worked out for you, where you've seen this come up in your business. As always, be well.